welcome everyone to the European Teams user group for July 2020. My name is Chris Horde and I'm here today with Adam Deltinger, and we are going to be going through the user group session for this month. So about the European Teams user group, if you've never heard of us before or this is your first time attending, we're all about creating a network of Teams professionals. Adam and I started becoming involved in the tech community at the end of 2018, and it wasn't long once we had the conversation to start this user group. So right at the beginning of 2019, we started doing this on a month-by-month basis. We've had over 30 speakers so far over the course of the last 18 months. We've held 2 European conferences, and in that time we have roughly 7,000 users between us. Now, Adam and I are not the only ones running the user group. We also have Vesa Nopanen from Finland, and we have Chris Webb in the United States in Texas. They've joined us over time because they help us in a lot of the planning for these sessions and for our conferences, which we will talk about in a moment. But this group is not just about creating a network of Teams professionals all around the world. It's also for regular opportunities to present and share content. When Adam and I were first starting out, it was very much we didn't have a platform and we were relatively inexperienced with speaking. So we created the user group in order to give both ourselves and others the opportunity to come along. And many speakers come along in order to get started. This is a foot up on the ladder, or to sharpen their skills in presenting in a small, intimate atmosphere rather than speaking at the larger events. Thirdly, it's also about democratizing Teams knowledge and experience. We feel that we can take what we have learned within Teams over the years and be able to share that with everyone in order to make them better and more knowledgeable about Microsoft Teams. And this knowledge can be on any part of Teams, whether it's on apps or voice or security or development, and it can be at any level, from level 100 right the way through to 400. It's really important for you to have that platform to showcase what it is that you're passionate about and what you feel and your perspective on Teams. And like I said, we've had 30 speakers so far. They've all brought something unique to the table, and many of them speak at our European conferences at TeamsFest. The agenda today, just to where we're going to go before we get any further, we're going to have an update on TeamsFest on our next conference. We're then going to go to the speakers for today, and then right at the end of the day, we're going to share some key dates for you. So TeamsFest, we announced this a few months back. Our next event is on Wednesday, the 7th of October, 2020. This will be our third TeamsFest today, and this is very, very special because we have some absolutely amazing speakers from Microsoft, including the one and only Jeff Teeper. But we also have Ilya Laurie Potmayer, Puna Kaufman, Mark Cashman, Anna Chu, Vesa Yavonen, and Mike Tolfson. Now, in previous events, we had Caruana, we had Laurie, and we had Vesa Yavonen, but this really takes it another level in terms of the commitment from Microsoft. Now, we're being sponsored again by Microsoft Teams and also the Microsoft tech community. This is 100% community. We made the decision to not have corporate sponsors because we wanted to keep things 100% free, 100% community. Now, again, a couple of months back, we introduced a very kind of simple timeline for how we get to the day, how we get to the event. Having done this a few times before, we're now quite familiar with what we need to do leading up to it. So everything's set up. We did that in June. We then launched the call for speakers through Sessionize. We're almost there. We've got 11 days to go until that call for speakers ends. What we will then do is inform the speakers, and that will essentially confirm the lineup for TeamsFest. We then go in August to a commit phase where we just confirm with the speakers, This year, we're also having moderators, so we will also confirm with the moderators, and we will finalize all of the session titles. So we essentially go into that commit or locking phase, and that will lead all the way up to October, where the event will happen. Now, just to give you an overview, because I said we're going through the call for speakers at the moment, we've had 150 session submissions. That's quite a substantial more than we've ever had. 91 unique speakers. These speakers are from all over the globe. TeamsFest is really growing in its profile, and we're ever so happy. Now, that call for speakers, as said, ends on July the 31st at midnight. We will probably take the weekend just to make the final decisions over what speakers we will be moving forward with. You can still apply today. Don't feel like time is now run out. We will not be making the decision until after July the 31st. So you have 11 days to go on, submit, and throw your hat into the ring for TeamsFest. There isn't any kind of pre-agreements. There isn't any, it's already kind of done in terms of its reviews. We won't even start seriously looking at this until roughly the 27th or 28th. So there's a lot of time to go. But what we'd also like to share with you today is exactly in terms of what the structure of TeamsFest is going to be. So we had to make the decision with so many submissions to say whether this was going to be a single day experience or whether it was going to be a multi-day experience. And I think that Chris, Vesa, Adam, and myself all felt like the TeamsFest has really worked well as a single day event. We've had really high scores before in the past for the last two conferences. So we're going to stick with that this time around, but we are expanding the sessions considerably. So in our first TeamsFest, I think we had somewhere around about 30 sessions. In the second one, we had somewhere near 50 sessions. In this time around, we're going up to 72 sessions. So that's quite a lot. I think this will be an event that has the most team sessions within a single day. Now that is going to be split over 7 tracks. Those 7 tracks are up from 6 previously, which are up from 3 the first time around. So we are trying to organize those sessions and make them into natural learning paths. So up 22 sessions over previously and up 1 track. And because we've expanded to 7 tracks, that's why we have called for moderators this time around. I think we realized, Adam and myself and Vesa, that it was a lot to do last time and we had to jump between sessions. To have dedicated track moderators and owners are going to make things a real tight kind of experience during the course of the day. So that's where we are with TeamsFest. We can now move on to the most important part of today, which is our speakers. And we have with us Jeff. He's from Monaco Digital in France. He's a Microsoft 365 consultant, and his session 1 that I'm really looking forward to is about adopting the Teams concept instead of just chat. I mean, if we all think about our adoption with our customers, this can become a big problem. So Jeff is going to run through that. Second, we have Lalit from Legion US in India. He is a SharePoint specialist. And again, we've got 2 great speakers this month. His session is going to be on Microsoft Teams together with SharePoint and Power Virtual Agents, leading the power of digital transformation. Power Virtual Agents are the latest addition to the Power Platform. So this is a session that is right at the edge and where a lot of customers are going to want to be involved in. So this is going to be an interesting one too. So Adam, before we get underway, is there anything you'd like to add about the speakers or about TeamsFest today?
No, I think you covered it all pretty well, Chris. So I'm as you looking very much forward to the speakers today. So let's move on.
Okay, brilliant. So shall we get Jeff, if you want to get underway?
Sure, thank you. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, first of all, Adam. Let me know when I can start. Anytime?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you for the organizing team first time for me with TeamsFest. I cannot wait for this session in October with all those great lineup. So today I wanted to talk about adoption, the Teams concept instead of chat, because I don't know for you guys in your country, but in France it's easy to do just like we did before in Skype, which is just to chat. So instead of using the team feature, users tend to use the chat feature. So in this session, I will start with some key features for the end user that view this video, and also give some adoption learnings that I learned myself from my own research and experience. My background is more technical, so I'm not a specialist in adoption, but feel free to share if you have some good tips to enhance the team adoption. So the objective today, I will show some tools, some tips, and features about channel, why we should use channel. And the second objective would be to give you some key to build an adoption strategy. So if there are some people in the chat, do not hesitate to share what's your role today. Are you an end user, I mean a customer, or are you a consultant, a project manager leading the change in your company, so that I will have some insight. Thank you for that. About myself, as I was introduced, I live in France. I hope you understand my accent. My English is not perfect. I had the chance to live in this beautiful city of Singapore, and I'm coming from an island called Réunion Island. I work for Monaco Digital in Monaco. We mostly work for customers in France and Monaco around Microsoft 365 and a lot of SharePoint on-premise, because we want data to stay in Monaco sometime. Mostly proud of a project where I helped 8,000 users to get access to their digital workplace by developing a new one based on SharePoint. And I'm more specialized on team adoption recently with the confinement and all. There were a lot of interesting projects about Teams, and also interested and specialized in process automation using Power Automate, Nintex, and sometimes SharePoint framework to build some components. So let's start with the main topic today. So on top, you can see of the iceberg what the user mostly use sometimes, chat and video conference, like today, for example. And what they could miss is using channel. Channel in Teams gives you some contextual chat history. You can configure some apps to have a digital workplace. You can categorize by channel the different conversation, and external user can join the chat. Thanks to Matthew Burr, sorry for the pronunciation, that inspired me to create this infographic. So if user only use chat, it's just like using Skype basically, or WhatsApp. So how can you push user to use channel more and Teams more? So let me show directly on demonstration some of the key features of the channels. I will switch to Teams for that. All right, so now you see my Teams. On the left, we added the intranet and some Power Apps application. And here we can see the list of teams. I created an org-wide company team to showcase some demonstration. So you have a general channel to discuss about everything, people joining the company, etc. We can integrate in a channel the news from SharePoint. That's something you cannot do in chat. So let's say people were conversing here, they could directly access the news. So that's a good benefit. We can also integrate some tasks using Planner. So here we have, for example, a marketing plan to redesign a website, send some communication. So this cannot be done in chat. So that's one more good feature of the channel. And also we can add tab to SharePoint, which is the document repository in this case. So for an employee to find some interesting documents, they can directly access it from his team. Then using a team, you can also show to your employees or colleagues some custom application and some help channel. So in that case, we created a help channel. People can ask their question here and we can answer. You can also post some tips along the way so that user will visit that often, and they will find help using this channel. And as I mentioned, you can add a tab here also to request a team. So let's say in your company, you want to control who can create a team and provide some information. Here I've added the Power Apps provided by Microsoft in this channel, where you can request a team, and the IT department or business department will approve it to get it created from a template later. So here I create a new team. I choose the visibility. I give a new team name. So let's say it's my project Fest. So adding an app, it's really related to a channel. You cannot do this in a conversation in a chat. So that's why I recommend using some teams instead. Okay, I won't go to the end of the creation, but basically you add the owner, the member, and the team will get created after approval. So just to let you know, that channel is powerful for this because you can integrate some Power Apps. One more thing is you can create a channel to plug it to Twitter, let's say. So if you want to not miss a hashtag or a Twitter account, you can create a channel for your team, and they can receive every tweet about this topic or the dedicated account. One more thing is you can create a channel called meetings, and you can put your meetings inside this channel so that if somebody missed the meeting, they can directly replay the meeting that you have recorded, and they can view the chat that happened during the meeting. So for example, this one, we brainstormed about a product and we had some chat. Then you are able to see that if you are just using chat on the left, then this will be messed up inside the chat, and it will be hard to find the previous meeting. And one more thing, you can also add some bots like forms. So if you want to survey your team about a topic, you just do add forms. And then you can straight away trigger a form. Some space needs to be provided before it works. Let me try again. So once you click on create a survey, you can provide your question to your team. So what shall be our next brainstorming session? I would just leave the default option, and then you send that to the channel. So that's one more thing you cannot do in a chat. That's quite powerful. So this can be, you can find more options by adding apps from the tab here. You can find a lot more tabs than in a channel, than in the chat, sorry. And you also have connectors. Sorry for the interface, it's in French. So by clicking the menu here, connectors, you can also add some connector like Yammer. Whenever there's a new post in the Yammer community, you can get the post in Teams. Or whenever there's a new SharePoint news, you can get the news also directly in the chat, and people can interact. So those are additional features compared to the chat. There are many more. So as I say, there is more application in a channel than a chat. On the left, those are the additional one compared to a chat. So you can add some planner, SharePoint, document library, rather than on the right. It's pretty limited for a chat. Of course, you have external apps. I didn't take a screenshot for that here, but you have the same external apps. So that was an overview of some features. Now I wanted to share with you some adoption plan tips. So I separated in 3 steps. First step, to convince your user to use Teams as a Teams instead of chats, is to understand what they do today. Then once you understand the state of art, you can act and take some action to try to convince them to use the team features. And along the way, since they use the team, you might need to govern to provide some, maybe to put on some limitation or give some direction to users. So let's go through those 3 steps. So the first step is understand how your users use Teams. So you have some out-of-the-box reports in the team admin panel, sorry. You can understand what how your user use Teams. So we can see here on the left that most of the conversation are using chat in purple here. They do a lot of call in green and few only message in channels. I don't know if it's the same for your customer or your company. Do you have the same trends? Let me know in the chat. And on the right, you can see some other statistic of how many users are active in each team, who is the owner, when was the last activity, etc. So those are the out-of-the-box reports from the last 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, and 6 months. You can also, using this menu, see how users use Teams, whether it's by phone or computer. And if you want to go further to know how Microsoft 365 is used or Teams also is used, you can install the Power BI Usage Analytics. It's a free report provided by Microsoft. And it will give you some insight of active users per month and using the chat or the channel. And with nice infography about the usage. You also have some other tools like OneDrive, Yammer, SharePoint. Since everything is related to Teams, it would be good also to check how SharePoint and OneDrive is doing, because when you edit the documents in Teams, that will count as a SharePoint statistics. So to understand better, those are metrics that are automatically provided by the tools, but it's always better to get feedbacks from the end user itself. So don't hesitate to talk to them, survey them using Microsoft Forms. If you have Yammer in your company, you can interact with them using online communities. And survey should be done maybe every 6 months so that you can adapt your plan, adoption plan. It's always good to know because it's evolving quickly. People change their habits quickly, so it's good to have feedbacks continuously. So that was for the first part of understanding the situation using statistic and survey. Now, once we know how users use, we can adapt our plan and try to convince them to use Team and not chat. So that's the second part, act. So first of all, in the adoption, a lot of companies, sometimes they just throw Team, it's IT deployment, nobody train the users, nobody present how to use things. So maybe it's time to redo the thing from the beginning by rescheduling meetings with your user. Best is face-to-face meeting, but if you want to reach maximum of person and record it, why not do it by using Teams? You can record it. And why not you do a physical meeting with users, and you also record it in Teams so that you can view it later for new employee coming to the company. They can view also this presentation of Teams. So you can do out-of-the-box presentation features of Teams, like basic, how to do video conference, how to do chat, and then you can do a second training more with the service, with each department, sorry. And then you can understand how they work and you can propose them a planner and other tools that will facilitate their daily life. So you can do by meeting or continuously. What we do in our company, we have an org-wide team. We are 200 in our company. And everybody see this team, and we have channels for different tools. So help about Planner, SharePoint, and Teams. And inside Teams, what you can see on the right is users, they directly ask their question inside this channel. So continuously, there's some support provided to users, and it benefits other users because everybody can see the question. So sometimes some people come to me personally and ask me the question. And I tell them, please ask in the channel so that it profits everybody. So that's also a good way to share some tips when Microsoft release some new feature. For example, with the custom background that I think Adam used earlier. When we announced that to the channel, we had a lot of interaction and a good success for this feature. So that's promoting features all along, every day, every week. You can promote features to users this way. If you use Yammer in your company, you can also use Yammer. But we have chosen Teams because we are a small company and everybody is used to using Teams. Also, what's important in adoption is to clarify when to use what. So I created this infography on my blog. I hope the numbers are still up to date because Microsoft keep increasing the limit. So this infography is to share why using a channel versus a chat and how they work, each of them. So a channel can be public or private. By default, when you post in it, you don't have any notification. You need to use the @ to notify somebody. It's up to 5,000 people. I think it's increased to 10,000 now. You can think it as a way as putting an email, putting somebody in a CC in your email. Because when you post in a channel that doesn't notify anybody, you just post an information for others to be informed. If you need information from somebody, you will use the @ symbol and you will notify the person. One of the benefits, it also shows the history by default. In a chat, you can conditionally show it or not, the history. And as I say, you have more apps to be added in a channel. And you can start meeting inside the channel to have a history of meeting available for the team in future. So for chat, it's private by default. You cannot make it public. You can add less people inside it. There's notification by default. It's more to me like quick chat with people, come for coffee, come for the meeting. But if you want to discuss a topic that could interest the team, you should use the channel in a team rather than a chat. So this is an example of a team. How can you structure it? So a product development team wants to discuss the development of their product. They have the general channel. They have channel to discuss their product release, their research, their feedback, their go-to-market. So this really separates the information into isolated channel rather than getting everything mixed inside one chat. And they can do also some private channel to discuss some hidden topics from the rest of the team. And inside each channel, you can make it like a workspace. So when you do researching, you might want to have a bug tracker, conversation about the bug, a Power BI dashboard, and another channel, like the general channel, we have the Scrum meeting, minute of meeting maybe, the training videos. So each channel, we have their own workspace. That's really a good benefit. One more adoption trick that I want to share with you is you can share to your users some infography like this. It's in French. Maybe I can translate it in English later. It gives some tips for getting started with Teams. So it tells the user to first, day 1, configure the picture. Day 2, share their screen. Day 5, start a chat. Day 7, request a team and share your document inside the team, etc., etc. So this facilitates adoption because it suggests to the user what they could do with the tool. I found this online as well. Sorry, it's in French, but I'm sure you can find some in English as well. Some bingo. So when you do some training session, rather than asking questions to the audience, you can also make them play and ask them to check what they have done before with Teams. And for example, they can check that they haven't replied using the good button. That's always a mistake that we make. Or maybe they experience that somebody did not deactivate their microphone. So that can be given during your training sessions. Bingo. Some best practice shared by Microsoft. So if a company starts with Teams, it's best to create a team for the people that will drive the change in the company so that they will understand how the tool works and be more knowledgeable when the user has a question. Then recruit some champions. Champions will be some people that are helping other users in their service departments. They know the business the best. So if you make a team of champions with you to deploy Teams in your company, that will help the change management. Let me check in the chat if we have some question or comment. All right, so far nothing. One of the tips also is to prioritize some business case. So why will you use Teams? Will it be for tracking the task for a project? Will it be for sharing some application? Each company, they have different objectives using Teams. So it's important that you know how you will be using Teams in your company, because the adoption strategy will change according to this. Earlier, we shared some tips in the help channel. Let's say you want to use Teams to use Power BI, then you should share some tips around Power BI instead. So it's important to know what you're going to do with the tool. Also, the IT department should deploy the Teams application on the computer. Let's not forget about governance. I will talk about it later. When you create a team, you should create some channel by default so that users are invited to discuss in the relevant channel. Otherwise, if you just start with the general channel, maybe nobody will create any channel because sometimes they don't know how to use the tool. It's always good to start with predefined channel to separate different conversation. Also promote the mobile application, because you can work from anywhere, especially through these days. You work from anywhere with a remote office, etc. So we can install the application, invite them to install the application, enable some popular apps like Poly for advanced survey, sorry. As I say at the beginning, get feedback from the users continuously, and you can use Microsoft Resources. There's a lot of help center in Microsoft, some video, some what's new. You can access everything in the help inside Teams at the bottom left in this section here. So what else can we do? Once we have trained the users, we have explained the difference of the channel, etc. I think what we can do is make Teams really useful. For example, in our company, we often use Planner. So we have added the icon Planner on the left. So to manage their task, users must open Teams and they click the icon and see their task. And that's a good way to make them go to Teams. We also use Yammer. Sometimes we don't want to open one more browser to go to the Yammer. So we added directly the relevant community to the user inside Teams. So that's really a hub. Teams become a hub to access other applications. And if you do that, it's like email. In email, we check our mail, we check our task, and we see email quite easily because we do everything inside. So let's try to make Teams the same way. Another way is to add some Power Apps inside the Teams. So here we have created an app to request to work remotely. So when the user needs to request to his manager to work remotely, he needs to go through this Power Apps request through Teams. So one more time, he can see what's going on with Teams. That's facilitating adoption. Another example here, it's adding some reports directly inside the tool so that they don't have to open any other application. Everything is in their hand. Last but not least, you can also automate some process. So I mentioned earlier that we can request some work from home request here. This is the view of the manager, for example, that will receive a request for approval inside Teams. You can do that with Pro Automate inside email, but you can also do it in the bot Pro Automate inside Teams. So that's also a good way to promote the tool, because you also have this app on the phone. You can directly approve your tasks from the phone. Plus, I want to add that when you make a Power App for Teams, it's also available for SharePoint. So you can directly integrate it inside your intranet, and you develop one app for two tools. So that's quite powerful. So just now I shared a lot of things. Let's put now this in perspective. So I suggest this plan to deploy Teams in your company. So first of all, prepare the change. So define why you should use Teams for your company. Identify who can resist to change. Maybe some people, they are used to email. They really don't want to use Teams. So understand with them why they don't want to use it. Show them what benefit they can get from that. And it will be better for you to adapt your training sessions, your webinar, and the resource that you will share to users if you understand people that can resist to the change. Of course, prepare a training planning, webinar, face-to-face session. It's not only training, but it's also a communication plan, etc. in the preparation phase. Second step, find some champions, as I mentioned earlier, and really important, talk to manager also, because the manager, they are the key to change their employees. If the manager use email all the time and you ask the employee to use a team to manage their project or to discuss among themselves in their service, if the manager is still in email, that will not work. I had the chance to have a manager that before was pushing Slack in the company. So when we changed to Teams, it was really smooth to adopt the tool. For some other service, it was not that smooth because the manager was not convinced from the tool. And also, if the manager requests a question, let's say, please apply for your leave. If he asks this by mail instead of Teams, that will not be good for Teams adoption. Along the way, do not hesitate to share the success through newsletter, intranet, Yammer, share that how Teams help you in a daily basis. Help user along the way, so using training and continuously sharing tips inside a team channel or a Yammer community. Measure the statistics by statistic and by survey, understand your users, how they use things. And this plan should be adapted. It's not a cut in stone plan. It should be adapted to your environment, to your experience, and to your users. And it changes all along the way. It's not just one time at the beginning of the project of deploying Teams. It should be done continuously every 3-6 months. You need to continue, especially that there is always some new features in Teams. So the change Teams should be able to publish regularly. So the third step is governance. Once you have your team created, you might beforehand decide some configuration that you want to apply. Why governance? Let's see a world without governance then. So a world without governance, user will ask themselves these questions. What's the use of this team? There's so many teams that are similar name, so many names are the same project. So I don't want to use team anymore, I would just use email. On the right, the employee quit the company, where are his data? So without governance, that's the kind of problem that could happen. If you don't ask yourself the question about what can happen about IT and about business around Teams, so such problems will happen. In some company, we have some user asking, why is there a org chart showing? We don't even know clearly who is the manager here. So why is there an org chart feature? So org chart can be disabled. So by asking you the question, do we need an org chart before starting the Teams project? Using some good governance, you can avoid this kind of question by disabling the org chart, for example. So what can you control as an IT administrator? You can define who can create Teams. Teams is based on Office 365, Microsoft 365 groups. So if you can restrict who can create Teams, or you can control, as I showed earlier, by setting up some approval. I have some customer that never train their users and let the team creation open. In the end, they ended up with 400 teams in 1 week. So in the end, they say, oh, this tool is useless. So we are helping now to provide some information how to better do things. Using governance, you can also define some naming convention. So if you choose to open the team's creation, which I recommend, you can prefix the name of the teams so that you will know that it's a team created by the user and not by your IT department, for example. You can configure the meeting capabilities. For example, you can set up a logo when you share a video conference. You can restrict if you can invite external people, if you can share the whiteboard. Depending on the company, if it's confidential data, you might not want to enable everything. You can also limit some approved apps. One thing in Europe is the GDPR. So sometimes if you open every app, it will be difficult to, if a user requests you to delete some data when they leave the company, how would you know that they use external apps such as Trello, for example? It will be complicated for the IT department to request Trello to delete the data. So maybe sometimes the easiest way to do that is to disable the app inside Teams so that they won't use it. So it's for GDPR and also for help the life of the IT department that maybe already deploy an app for managing the task. And why would you want to put Trello in the middle? Also, you can configure some security, etc. So some example here in the admin center, you can configure who should see the link. Is it public or is it only existing employees linked to a document? Also, you can enable and disable, as I said, the apps. You can disable Google Drive because you are using SharePoint already, for example. And then in the end, on the right side, the user will see less application configured. Also, at the end of the day, you can define how do you archive or delete a team. So you can automatically delete it after a number of months, or you can just leave it as it is. That should be defined depending on what you do with the teams. One more thing also is the documents. Here I have some documents in Teams. Is Teams the good tool to store documents in the long term? Most of the time, no. For me, it's a workspace where you edit documents and then you move those documents to the main intranet that store the documents. So that's a question about governance you should ask yourself at the beginning of the project. Also, for governance, you should ask who should create the teams. Is it everybody? And then the user is happy about this. Is it controlled by a form where you have to provide information about the team that you want to create? And then the team gets created. User is also satisfied about that. And the last one, if you request IT to approve it and create, you will create some delay and user will create chat instead. So to me, it's the worst thing to do. If you want to promote teams using team, do not block team creation because users always find a way to do what they want to do. So if you block one side, they will find a way to do it on another side. So to control the Teams creation, I showed you earlier, it was the Microsoft application that they released. You can deploy this to your tenant. The manager will approve the request at the end. And the end user will see the request he has submitted in the past. So in conclusion, explain to your users what is Teams for and explain why they should use it rather than using chat or email. Get help from the champion and the manager to conduct the change in your company. We've seen that we can also use some channel to share tips, Yammer community. That's also a good way along the way to share to your users. And do not forget governance. There's many topics to not forget. There's also security, GDPR, but that we require another session to discuss about this. Here are some resources if you want to get the Power BI reports that I shared during the understand phase. Microsoft also shared some adoption plan and the Power application to approve a team request. And you have some good governance white papers from the MVP season available online. Also for resource, there is this ebook by Microsoft for your end users to understand the benefit of Teams. And this is put into situation. So it's a good read for starting with Teams. I'm reaching the end of my presentation. Do you have any question and do you want to share some feedbacks by microphone or by chat about adoption in your company? How is it? Do you have some good tips as well to share or any question? Adam?
There's no question. Yeah, hi. There's
so
no questions here in the chat here, but
all right.
And if you're watching this on demand, you can just reach out to Jeff on social media, I guess, also.
Sure.
But thank you so much, Jeff. Well done. Great session. And I mean,
no problem.
With so much talking about Skype for Business Online being decommissioned, and Microsoft Teams is kind of the replacement for Skype, right? you don't really think it's good that people knows about that chat is only a small part of what's possible with Microsoft Teams. So I think that's great, and also like even if you're doing one-to-one chat or group chats, and now you can now do that in Teams, you may also consider the benefits of doing this instead with creating a team or using channels instead, for example, instead of using just chat. So I mean, great session again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Lalit, are you ready with your session?
Yeah.
Just gonna wait here to there's your presentation. Awesome. All right, you can start off anytime.
All right. So hello everyone, and thank you very much for providing me an opportunity here to talk about what's happening around Microsoft Teams and where I'm actually empowering my customers, stakeholders in terms of their needs, right? So I think this is a great platform where I can share my knowledge. So hello everyone, and this is me in few words. I work with Allegiant as a modern digital workplace specialist, and I take care of Microsoft 365 as a platform with support, development, and administrations, all of them together with we have few developers team in India that we supported our stakeholders with, and I think if you ask me what I really do, I think I really evaluate the existing business processes to identify and execute the improvements initiatives like through the automations and digital journey. I think Microsoft SharePoint being getting modern nowadays, and Microsoft Teams is now becoming a new hub for teamwork, and a lot of infusions around the around AI and ML, right, from the Power Platform family. So I think this is what I really do in every day of my work. And I think what you really can cover. I mean, what I'm going to really cover in this, it's like how do you bring your no-code solutions to deploy your SharePoint home site or hub site, or could be a Microsoft learning pathways that Microsoft just rolled out to accelerate your end users training on these collaboration tools as a personal tab. And I think the second one that you can roll out for, I think the virtual agent, that's a newly addition to the Power Platform family, where you can really expect out of a great, addition to the experience to your end users. I use the virtual agent to probably my intranet homepage where I have some of the database where I pull up these questions from, and I build a lot of good reports. And I think it's very early to say how much I impact my organization, because this is the really new addition and we are still exploring this, and we kind of having some discussion kicked off with the corporate communication team. So I really don't know, but absolutely it's a great technology to use, and really empowering the SharePoint experience to the intranet users. Now, I think the world is changing, which is the changing how people live and work. And I think these are the two things that I will cover. So let me start with the Power Virtual Agent. So this I just copied from the Microsoft, Ignite, where they say, hey, how we can really engage our users naturally, how we can democratize the AI experience to their dialogues, to their topics, where there's no need to a data scientist to develop, or maybe a great developers need. I think maybe can we just really solve the business problem without focusing more onto the developers and cost and effort thing? Can we just probably pull out few infrastructure that has been built by Microsoft, or maybe can we just really get the tools that needs to do the job? I think this is the kind of the vision that Microsoft Virtual Agent is really carrying, and I think it's really improvising the experience to your website. Just hold on to the demo. I'll probably cover it very quickly, and also your experience is really great. It can take you, like you can take this experience to your blogs, to your custom website, to your company intranet, to Microsoft Teams. And the last one is, I think, this is what I just covered, right? This is just a backend system with few clicks that you can use hundreds and hundreds of connectors that come with Power Platform and call APIs. You can leverage your bot skills with this, right? So as I said, this is just a newly addition to the Power Virtual Agent to the Microsoft Power Platform. And I think this is what it is. It's designed for everyone, your customer, your experts, your IT admins and developers and professionals. And how you can really use this platform, I think it's really simple to start building these conversations, topics, dialogues, and create a personalized experience with the customer, and then leverage your limitless extensibility with the bot framework skills. So I think what you see in the right side here is just a bot and some of the canvas experience where you can go and see how your bot is behaving. And in the left hand side, how you see the extract information from user responses, and then you can store it to the variable, and then you can take those variables to write the next messages and so on. And there's a way that you can store your information from the user, maybe their emails, their service numbers, request number. One of the agents, one of the case study that they have done it in Mexico, I think not Mexico, I think California based one flower planting company. They have gardeners that probably go to each backyard and clean the stuff. So this, they take it to the website experience, and any client can come and type, hey, I'm looking for somebody who can just come for an hour to take care of my backyard where I have a lot of things to be done. So I think they kind of leveraging this bot experience there. So I have a couple of other case study that I can just go and talk quickly. So you can also infuse your questions as just a great advantage to really leverage your existing corporate communications FAQs. Like I work for a company like Allegiant, and I can use their FAQs from the corporate website and can leverage it to the intranet experience to my end users, right? So this is just out of the box. There's no code needs to be written, right? And this is what we are really seeing the innovations around this, where you can leverage your existing resources as well. Now here, what you see, you can avoid repetitive conversation. As I said, these conversations comes with a lot of AI and infusions of a lot of new technologies, which directly impact your dialogue, your script, your topics, everything. So I think this is really a great way that I can really impressed with what Microsoft Bot is really doing. Microsoft Power Virtual Agents are really doing. I can just take it to the experience now, just in one or more slides. So this is a channels that you can go and take your code to, and then there is an easy way that your board can be drawn a Power BI report with no efforts by yourself. It covers your engagement, it covers your resolution rate, escalation rate, abandon rate, likewise, which is the top questions being asked by the end users. How many sessions did your bot completed so far, and how these engagement look like. So these are the few drastically improved report from the Microsoft that I really impressed with as well. So let's just go and kick off something to the demo part here. So let's just go and get started. So what you see here, HP website, everybody knows HP, that they have a good support of the laptop, right? So I go and tell something here to the bot what HP website has. This is virtualagent.hp.hpcloud.com. Even though before I say hi or hello, right? So it has a very much automatic responses created, right? A person can say 100 times hi, right? Somebody say good morning, right? So I think there are different ways that you can go and greet a bot, right? But did you notice here one thing that I wanted you guys to see? This part, right, that you see hi, hello, good morning. The bot is actually giving you the same response, right? And that's called your topic here, and the phrases, how many ways your question can be asked by the human. So you see, I go back to virtual agent. So you can go to say power virtual agent and just go and write it and just to add yourself here. And there's a documentation, there's a community out there. So just sign in and try free. There's a couple of more information that you can go and learn from here. But what I'm going to go and cover real quick, the most important place here when you log in is a bot where you can see there are 3 bots I have configured. I can go and create one more here. The most important place here to choose your environment. So sometime you don't have environment to choose. So make sure that you have a live environment where you have access to create this bot for maybe I would say EuroTeams bot. Okay, and I use, this is very important. Now the preview is 15 languages that it support, and by default I just take it English US. Now while we give some movement to this setup, let me go and explain my existing bot experience. So this bot, if you go, it's my first bot that I created 1 or 2 weeks before, and here you can see how many sessions I have completed, right? If you go to the analytics mode, right, it gives you the satisfaction results, the session, the billing, and every information. And you see how many escalation that I have across, right, that happened to me, and how many session outcomes over the time, right? And these are just great reports that you can go and see or your investment on this tool, right? So you see, one of the top questions that company, like my internet users ask is, where is Allegiant corporate headquarters? This has been asked by 6 times, right? And that's what it shows. Likewise, there is an entity which I wanted to cover quickly. So entity is basically if you are expecting, hey, can you provide me email, right? I'm expecting this, the bot ask a person, can you provide me age, your city, your color, your date and time? So you can leverage those existing validations from an entity perspective. So you don't need to write your validations for email many times. Instead, when somebody say, hey, my email is this, send me on this, username dot this. So I actually have enough understanding how does the email look like, right? It has to have an @ symbol. It has to add some dot at the end, right, with a few characters in the right left. So these are the few ways that you can go and leverage, and you can use your own custom entities by clicking on one, and you can say your email, maybe right, and then you can put a description here and say it's already email is there. I just rename it and put something, and then you can put your list items here, how many ways you want your users to respond for email, right? This is one of the synonym, right, for this email. So that's the purpose of leveraging this important aspect of the entity. Likewise, there is a topic. So I wanted to use the topic over here because this is makes sense when I can show you something real right now in the few clicks. So first of all, when you click on topics, it says system topics. As I just explained, there are 52 different ways a person can ask, or sorry, can greet your bot, right? So I can say hi, right? So you see, hi must be here somewhere. You see, hello sir, hello team, hello there, hello. So I think this is what I was doing here, right? Hi, hello, good morning. So similarly, I can use my own trigger phases that are being done by Microsoft. I can edit them, and you can see when I say hi to the bot, it has a clear response coming that I have pre-built setup by the Microsoft. I can copy this one, hello, good evening, and I can say here, hello, good evening. So you see, I'm just using my existing phrases and name, and my response has been set up already by the Microsoft for the few system defined topics like confirmed failure. When a person say bye, somebody say, hey, talk to you soon. Somebody say, hey, thank you very much for your help. So these are 67 different ways that you can go and explore this, right? And you can customize it if you want, right? If you want to customize this message, you can go still ahead and go to the canvas experience, and you can see if I say here bye until later, right, that I just probably put it over here, And you see when somebody say bye until later, it says thanks for chatting with me, bye. So this is what your topics in the system do. But there are some user defined topic. So I go here, and one of the website, I just pick it like my own company, my company where I work, Allegiant, and they have a very nice page of FAQs. So I go and get this as a copy, and I go over here, and there is a suggestion where I can go and use it, and I can go and manually start my topic. So I can say, who is the organizer for Euro Teams user group, right? I can put some of the description over here. So this is the manual way that you can use, right? Now, so how many ways people can ask this question? That you have to write here. Euro Teams, right? Somebody say Euro Teams owner or something, right? And this one, when you probably say maybe I would say Chris, maybe Adam and Alex, right? And I would say save topic. So now when I go and save topic, what happened? You added one conversation successfully to this bot. And how many ways people can ask, hey, and I can use my one of the topic here called EuroTeams. So let's just get respond for a second. All right, give it some time. Okay, let me just reset this for a second and I do it one more time. So this time when you put this question here, it will understand that somebody asked about the EuroTeams, right? And the responses that you have set up already for this, it will come up and show you quickly. Just give some more time here. All right, let's just go here. Okay, there is an error. Let's just go and check that. Oh yeah, I have not given any message. So I would say Chris, Adam, and Alex, please be in touch with them. So I'm sorry guys, I just did miss one message over here. So in a base of looking at three things right now. So once you save this, and you can go and click on topic checker. Now here what happened, I can go and say hi, and this time my bot will understand and responds pretty well. So this time it works. So far I have not asked about my EuroTeams. When I click on EuroTeams, it gives me a message, right? That's so easy. So this is one of the way, and here you can start building your next level of the computation, transactions, other logics. I may go and add a second level answer to this question, right? I can go and initiate further topics. Let's say, hey, for more information, visit our website, this place, right? For any consultation you want to book with an executive, click here, start your book your time and date at your convenience. So these are the few use cases that you can go and use it. And when you say end of my conversation, you can either transfer to the agent when your bot doesn't respond to the question, and you can end with the survey, and that's when it will ask your users to give the survey some feedback within the experience. I'll get that there for you quickly. And there's a way that you can call an action. This is where you can go and add your add your Power Automate capability back to this particular bot experience. So I can go and say, hey, why don't you just create me a flow where when somebody asks about the EuroTeams, I get notified that somebody has shown me an interest about speaking, or maybe hosting it for some other places, right? Like that. Now when you understand, there's an easy way that you can go and create a new topic. Likewise, I can go and show some of the things here. How would you use suggested topic? So as I explained, I go fairly enough and copy this link, and it says, hey, you can start your topic the answer will get pulled over from the website, and then you can enable those questions, right? And your dialogues and synonyms to those questions that a person may use to query this data back to the bot, right? So you can leverage the trigger phrases set of features here. So one thing is important: the name is the question, the trigger phrase is the synonym, like how many people, how many ways the people can ask your question to the bot, and the source is where the data is coming from, and there's a checklist over here with the received one, right? So let's just give few more seconds over here. Now, why don't I go and explain few things over the publish here? So when I go to say publish, I can go and publish it. Now, when you publish this one, it actually go to the chat. When you publish this, it gives you some of the content. Maybe I just show you here. Go to the channels, demo website, Microsoft Teams, and SharePoint, right? So I may go and just use my demo website and my query the data here, right? That I don't need right now. I just need to get this code done on my company intranet, right? So I go and copy this entire code, and there is a website where my company works with my SharePoint experience. And let me just go over here and 1 second, let me just log in here. So what I intended to do now, since my bot is ready, that I can go my iframe code to add it to my company intranet experience. So one of the site that my company own is this, right? This is a communication site template. I can make it to the hub and a home site. So here I just go and edit the page, right? And I will just go and add a vertical section in the right side. Maybe I just do some of the branding quickly, and I will add here embed, right? Because you got an iframe code, and here let's just put that code back here with the iframe. And one of the things that you might notice that this is not working, and the reason why, let me answer that question quickly. I go and duplicate the tab, and there's a way it says, hey, I don't understand, I don't trust this URL. So there is a way in the SharePoint settings menu where you can enable this experience for your end users, and you trust the resource. So as an admin of the SharePoint, I go to the site in information, and then I go to view all site setting menu. All right, let's just go here, and there's a way where you can see HTML field security. Now, when you click on HTML field security, I can say allow contributors to insert iframe from any domain. The moment I do it, I go back over here, and this time, if you see, your bot will be working without any error. Isn't nice? Where you can just use your iframe code from Power Virtual Agent and add it to your experience, to your intranet. So here, let me just put it over again, the iframe, and then let me go and remove the extra one, and let's just use to try to give some of the height and width. Maybe I get here 40 pixel height, and the moment I give it, there's a nice way it came over, and let's just say republish. So this is my first bot, and I can go and type the questions right here, and I say hey, and you see this is just working really nice. Now let's just go over here, and you see there are 25 topics suggested, right? So now since you see that the SharePoint does have a great integration coming with the Power Virtual Agent, now this time we are going to go and get this code to run in a Microsoft Teams, right? So it generates an app ID. That's important to note. And there is enough information available on the top of this menu where you can go and read about the docs.microsoft.com. And I just followed one of them, and I copied this ID. I switch over to my Teams experience here, and you see there is a way that I can go to my App Studio. All right, and When you go to the manifest editor, you see already there is a my first bot already I added, right? Okay, just a minute. Okay, cool, no issue. So here you see my first bot. So when you actually go and create an app, right, in a Microsoft Teams. So for convenience of time, I just probably fill out a few things already. So my first bot, and this is the exact app ID that we just got it from Microsoft, a virtual agent. So this ID, if you notice, D2E77165, right? So this is the same ID that I'm putting over here. No, actually, this is different because the bot ID, you will use it under the bot section, right? But this one you can generate in your Teams, right? Let me one more time say this. This app ID is different than your app ID as a team, because this app ID you can generate anytime from your Microsoft Teams experience. And just feel free to add anything over here. Like I own a company tenant called Empathy Technology. I just pass on that over here. Then I can say bot.app.com, right? I can freely go and add anything. Just follow certain standard that Microsoft says, com.microsoft.teams.dev app, right? Likewise, you can just add your tenant name and the same keyword. This is kind of important. As you see, if I use this version and all, this says, hey, there's a regular expression validation happening each step. So make sure you give some stretch here and give it nicely so that you won't end up having any error in setting up this. Now put some description and a full description and some of the developer information. So you remember, nothing to remember over here. Just feel free to drop by anything in this name, website, and MPN ID. But if you are a partner to the company, right, to a client, and I think you need to register your partner information. So, but I'm not really a partner to anybody. I'm just using my own demo tenant where I'm putting these some of the URLs from my experience, right? So these are the URLs from SharePoint. I just copied like tenant.sharepoint.com, and you feel free to use any of those of your choice. Now you can use your branding experience for your tab experience, right? Because you need to really do some of the branding. And here, when you go, we are not looking for a tab, right? We're looking for a bot. Now, when you go to bot, and here, when you say add, this I have already set up, and this is very much important to know. This is the bot ID that say, hey, connect to a different bot ID or select from my existing bot. So when you're doing the first time, you want to copy it from this, right? So I copy this app ID, I set up the app ID over here, and then I use it for personal, then I save it. Now what happened next, when you go to the connectors and message extension and tabs, let me speak a little about it. So in my next demonstration, I will show you how you can add a tab, a global tab to your Microsoft Teams, affecting your global policies of our org-wide. And this bot is also be set up like differently as well. Like, so the capability that Microsoft gives you as a Microsoft Teams gives you is tabs, bot, connectors, and message extension. So this time we are taking a look at the bot experience, and other things are just as usual as stuff, right? Like language, reason, domains, and permissions, right? And one thing to note over here, token.botframework.com is the only available valid domain where it works. And how do I get that? So let me go over and switch over to this one, how to set up a Teams channel and supported content, right? So when you go to read about those URLs over here, right, it will explain you each and every baby step, how you can take your bot to the Microsoft Teams experience, right? So you can see, I click on manifest editor, create a new app, existing bot, put it for a personal. All the information that I have shown you here is the same that that is already available from docs.microsoft.com website. So I'm just putting over here the token.botframework.com. And once you set up this, click on it. If you end up doing some error, you will have here in the right side. Otherwise, you can click on install or download and upload a zip file to the Microsoft bot team, right? Now, when you finish this, what will happen? it automatically available here as a bot, right? If you see bot experience here. So likewise, when you search your app, it's already gonna come over here. Since I already make it pin, right? You see, I already unpin about install, right? So I have already pinned that app. That's why you don't see it. But this experience is just great over here. I say hi, and then I may go and unpin it. So this time you see the bot may come over here. So I think I have already registered that as a app. That's why it's over here. But when you do it first time, you may end up finding from here. Like I see company intranet is one, right? So I have used it for company intranet tab. So my first bot is really working nice, as you see. And I say, hey, can you tell us where's an Allegiant headquarter, right? So I can go and leverage the same bot experience within the Microsoft Teams as a personal app where I just probably go and find it, my own information. And this is great. You see, I can see that Dublin, Ireland is my headquarter. Did that answer the question? When I say yes, it answered my question. Immediately it tells you, hey, why don't you put some of the words for us based on your experience, like with myself. And I say 5. So it actually understands this rating, and it takes that rating and built me a nice report out of Power BI that I was showing you earlier. Now going back to where we were before, let's just see how it just gets added over here. My own questions that I was showing you from here, right? So here, when you add your questionnaires over here, you just need to select them all and click them add to topics. Or if you want to do certain changes in the questionnaires, right? I want to make some changes in this, right? So just click on the add to topics and add it. So you just don't need to blindly set up this. You can add your own intelligence and logics back over here with each question that you fetch from a different website, right? That's beautiful, that I will still have a control to each of my question that are coming from my website, from a public website, right? So I just probably go and get it to add to my topics, right? Or once I'm 100% successful, 100% confident enough, so I just simply say add to my topics these questions. And let me show you the experience. What you see here, suggested 25, will switch over to the existing one, and this will become gets 0, right? And there's a status that comes by default off. So you need to turn it on for each suggestion that you copy over to this experience, right? So you see here, I need to go and enable one by one. Let's just do it for a constant of time. Let's just do it for one questionnaire is called what is maximum reveal on LCN series, right? So I'm gonna go and write this one, right? And I can just put it over in my chat and let me see if it returns some results to me or not. Do you see this, guys? How beautifully it just added my whole, answer back to this particular chat experience. And then you can add your business logic or whatever you wanted to run after bot results came to the user, right? So this is what it is doing, right? So I think hardly we take few minutes over here to copy the data back here. And the important step, again, I would say and repeat 100 times, just you need to build some of the manual topics over here. When you have a website, you just click on suggest topics and get those or pull up from the website to Microsoft Experience. When you are in suggested topics, just select them over and move it to the existing one, and then turn it on one by one. Take this bot experience and say publish. Now, when you say published, I have already explained these topics already with my different bot. So once your content is published, you click on the publish. Yeah, that's done. Absolutely. Now go to my channels to configure it. Likewise, when you go to Microsoft Teams, it gives you an ID, right? And this ID is not there. Why? Because app available after channel is added. So basically, this is where you need to really go and just work on this as I just explained, right? So when I go to the SharePoint experience, I can just probably go and get this done, right? I just probably go and take this experience to my SharePoint. Now that's a wrap. I can probably take some questions if you have any, And my next thing that I really wanted to cover in few more minutes is Microsoft Power Platform is on the top, and your Azure bot services, your like Power Platform integrations are just welcome more than ever to integrate to your Power Virtual experience, right? So you can leverage your bot framework skills, and you can leverage those connectors that comes with Power Platform and do some of the great, great work with this agent. Now, extend these skills to your bot framework. Yes, the case study that I wanted to really talk about is how do we empower using Power Virtual Agent? I think we can put the power to design, build dialogues in the hand of business expert without the need of coding or AI expertise. I think it's an easy way to empower that I can be sufficient to build my bot with my own skills. Just few tutorial that I need to go and look at and some of the configurations, and I'm done. Integrate, as I just explained, it comes with a well integrations with your APIs call that you can make it from Power Automate, and you can initiate a couple of other connectors from Power Automate experience. That's called integrations with a great tool like Power Automate. How are you evolving this particular platform? So I think the VA analytics is a great way to look into the evolvement, right? Where you can continuously see the improvements around your data, the insight, what is required or not, and you can better satisfy your investment on this particular app. How are you transforming, right? So we are transforming on a complete to customer support experience with this, and a human free, like we are free up some of the human work, and we can use them for a higher value added task, right? So that's where they see as a transformation, and they just copied this again from a presentation from Ignite 2019. So this is it that I wanted to cover with the Power Virtual Agent. And the next thing that I just wanted to finish it very quickly, how you can add one of the Microsoft SharePoint experience, right? You beat home site, you beat your company intranet, you beat modern team site, not the classic, absolutely not. And how you can use one of the Microsoft 365 learning pathway to this Microsoft Teams experience. So what happened with my team here in Allegiant, that I have used Microsoft 365 learning pathway as a first tab in the Microsoft Teams. When my users go and look into the Microsoft Teams, they first onboarded to the website where they can initiate their journey of learning this particular tool. And trust me, the site analytics looks so great that I got 6,000 hits in a week with I think 7,000 people, 7,000 employees in a company. So this is great. Like everybody, people are getting chance to see, hey, what are some playlist website, like playlist for a scenario like work from home. So it's right away available with the Microsoft 365 learning pathway that connected your catalog from Microsoft curated and user trainings, and you can make your employee be more digitally literate, right? Around the tool and how does it really work. So you got your support.office.com, and you got some of the CDN pages coming from GitHub, and it's flow under one website under the SharePoint communications site on a customer tenant. And what is the prerequisite? You can be a global administrator, and you just need to go over here and say lookbook.microsoft.com and get your learning pathway website created by the Microsoft already within just few clicks. So I can just go and say, hey, I'm looking for a solution called Microsoft 365, Microsoft 365, a learning pathway. So one way to do it, to add your tenant by just one single button. I click on my add to my tenant. I pass on few details here, and my site will be ready sitting under my own tenant. Just 3 baby steps, and this site will be available for you, and you take this site to your intranet experience where you can put it as a quick tips around the collaboration tools and learnings and so on, and you can embed that experience in Microsoft Teams. So I have done it at my level to add it as a Microsoft Teams app. So here I can say, yes, I'm good to go and launch this as an app. And I just say probably, yes, that's just make some of the validation here. And once this is done successfully, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go and confirm it on the page. Let's go ahead and add this to my could not be completed because this is already over here. Let me go and change it to the getting started or something, so I can just say provision. And one until this is get provision, let me just keep going. And if you have a download version of a zip file from GitHub, you can add it to your app catalog, right? That's you need to do it for in the SharePoint experience. But when it comes to the Microsoft Teams, like you see here, they have a very one, right? Let me zoom in a little. So you see here, they have an activity tab, they have a get started, chat, Teams, calendar, right? So I just added the similar way. I want my get started to be the first tab so that people can just go and learn from it, right? If they are new to the Microsoft Teams. So this way we can have a faster adoption of the tool, right? Likewise, you see pin specific pages in a relevant channel, reduce context switching, and pin custom playlists for specific training scenarios. Like employee onboarding is topmost right now. A lot of people are going virtual onboarding of an employee, and if some person has no experience on Microsoft Teams, his company uses Cisco or some WebEx, some of the GoToMeeting solutions or Zoom, so they can be a faster in their learning, because when they launch their Microsoft Teams, they right way go and launch the getting started to this particular app, and you need to know what this is it. So now once you do it, you see this is currently in beta, but I don't think so it's still in beta, because my company and I are really using it very well, and it's just a great experience. So let me just go and demo it real quick. And before I demo this, till the time we are taking for my provisioning to done, but I just probably want to show you how I have set up my own company intranet website for here, right? So I go here, and my company website is the landing experience, and this landing, if you see, it is my company intranet that I use in my company. So you see global HR, marketing, who we are, find it, and all, right. So let me just go and make some of the changes here. Maybe I just go and delete this one. Yeah, nice. So this one, I want this to be running. So as you see, this is my home site, and you can go to search all the sites, the files, the people, and news, right? I want this particular landing page to be run under my Microsoft Teams as a personal app for my all users. So what I will do, I go to my office.com, I click on admin. In the admin, I click on the Microsoft Teams. Then when I click on Microsoft Teams admin portal, there is a way where I can go and enable some of the settings, right? So if you go here, Teams app, and manage application. So first we need to create an app, then we have to set up a policy. So let's just go and create this website, like a home site, your learning experience, or any of the SharePoint site, as an application in Microsoft Teams. So if you go to the App Studio, what happened now? So I will have a document to run with you guys quickly. So let me go and share it quickly within here. 1 second. So let me go and see if you can see it. So Microsoft Teams is a collaboration offering from Microsoft that enables a lot of other features, but also the scenario could include adding your corporate intranet landing page to the Microsoft Teams for an easy discovery of news and content. You can add a single piece communication on an important topic of your company, right? So that's what I'm doing over here. At the same time, you can also leverage your Microsoft 365 learning pathways as a website over here. So that's two things that I'm really demonstrating. And what is next? Then you can go and measure the impact by site analytics of the SharePoint. As you see, this is really working very well. And what is some of the consideration? There's no native navigation. So when I say native navigation, here you see global HR, find it, what's happening, right? This is going to be missing, because right now there's no way that I can show anything on the header and footer part, but I can show you a lot of web parts that are available already in the SharePoint. At the same time, I can actually add them on my Microsoft Teams. So what is that we need to do? So we have to go to Microsoft Teams, search for an application, App Studio, and then click on the App Studio, and put these many information just like simply that we did it before. And right after this, go to the tabs. So here there is an important step where why I referring this document, because there's a URL that you need to build based on the SharePoint framework solution. So this is something Microsoft has given us to use as a content URL. And let me show you how I have added in my own experience here. So I go to Manifest Studio, editor, and I click on my company intranet. So these steps I will show you one more time. As you said, when you give some app details around here, like my company intranet, generate an app ID, put the package name, version name, some of the descriptions over here, the same way that I just demonstrated before. The only change that you need to do, instead the bot, we are configuring this time a tab, right? And how would you go and configure this? So you see, hey, I wanted to explain you quickly this in a different notepad. So please take a look little here. So http empathytechnology.sharepoint.com is my tenant URL. Then layout.15 teamslogan.aspx is basically I'm understanding that Microsoft Teams, I'm using one single sign-on as well, and this experience delivering it under the Teams login, right? And SPFX is true. And when you SPFX is true, what is the intent, what I intended to show as a destination site, right? So I can give the exact URL that I wanted to display when person click on the tab in the left hand side over here, right? So it's very simple. Put your tenant URL, then teamslogan.aspx. Your SPFX is true, and then your destination to the site that where you wanted to show this, right? Now, then you can say, hey, can update configurations, run at a tab, blah, 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 save it. Now, don't need to touch anything over here. Click on the language, select the language, go to domains. This is important. You must give the domain, like previously we have given token.bot.microsoft.com. This time we are giving our own tenant URL, because that is what you are running it inside, right? empathytechnology.sharepoint.com or whatever sites they're there, they are just probably going to be validated based on the tenant URL. And this is important. App ID, AAP app ID, that's called single sign-on or resource specific consent, right? And that's what this Microsoft document says. This is app ID is constant for everybody in the like, you know, in this experience, and just update your URL to your tenant. So that's what I did here. See, in single sign-on, I use my empathytechnology.sharepoint.com. In the app ID, I use the same one. Like you see here, I just copy cut. Now, what is that? It means when you test and distribute the same way, you can install and download. The moment you install, this app will be visible under the admin experience. Let's just go and find this app, company intranet. Do you see this? Click on it, and you can upload your document, upload your application like .zip file, or you can just say, hey, I want to allow this app so that I can apply my policies, right? So I can just go and allow this app. The moment I allow it, you can see some of the permission policies that we have set up here. Now in this policy, what we have to do, we have to put a global org policy. And here you see Microsoft app, third party, custom app. So these three steps needs to be allow all apps. Otherwise, you may end up having some of the error here. So make sure you enable this here, and then you can go and set up some of the policies for org wide. Now here you can define the order. I want my company intranet to be the top tab, right? And I can add the tabs by going over here in the right side. So I say, hey, get me all global things, from here, right? So you see already selected. So when you want to pin any app, the step is to go to the manage app, look for the app, make it available, go to the permission policies, make it this all apps by default so that you will not have any error here. Once you set up this one, go to setup policies, click on the particular policy, upload custom app, allow user pinning, right? That you can control over here, and then you can install your app and define the order. And then you can go and move it down and top, right? This is the simple step. Now let's just go back and copy this one, the URL that I already copied. So you see there's a difference, right? I can simply go, if I don't know if anybody know about the site pages library, and there is a way that you can build this URL. Sitepages.home.aspx is the one that is running up on my tenant over here, right? So I copy the same experience, I done it, I go to the company intranet, and you see only this particular top header is not available. Rest everything is available as I promised here, right? So you see now my documents are here, my countdown timers are here, my other web parts are here, right? And it's just working really great, right? I can go and have some of the conversation on Yammer. Likewise, I can go and have my experience running on my Power Virtual Agent, right? So, and see, this is just great, right? I mean, this is just unlocking a potential to really add the value to our organization, right? Where you can push a couple of the learning website, the communications website, the intranet all together by simply going to this particular menu and ask users to find those information here. As I said, my first bot, company intranet, you can brand these logos and information the way you want it. Now let's go over here. That's a wrap. I'm happy to have any questions if are here.
Yeah, we had one question in the chat here from, I think it was Peter Rising. What would you say are the benefits of Power Virtual Agents over the Q&A Maker, and how do they differ?
Oh yeah, so I think for me, when this query comes from a corporate communication team which governs our intranet portal for a 10,000 plus organization, right? They say, hey, they reach out to IT, and I'm the one who approached them from IT perspective, and I sit with them. They say, hey, we had already a manufacturing public website for different US and EMEA region units, and we want these questions that are already available on a public website to be a part of intranet portal where they can still ask these questions within the same experience. We are showing our policies or updates or announcement. Can you pull them over like a chat experience? And can you also pull them over? Hey, I want to go to my India-based HR SharePoint so that I don't worry about what's happening in APAC and EMEA and US, because I come from India and I want to know what policies for my leave, right? So I just use these kind of chat experience where I have my database maybe in Excel, as simple as that, or maybe a SharePoint page, or maybe something else, right? So it's all about efforts and a transaction and computation that you are expecting out of which, right? If you take this code, if you take this Power Virtual Agent to a public website where you wanted to do more out of it, right? Definitely we need a bot and Q&A maker where Azure skills comes in. But this is something very less development needed, with highly configurable, with a lot of good things coming out. Like you can take this experience to different channels, and also you can have a better Power BI reports, right? So with Q&A, you just create the Q&A bot, but what next, right? But here we have answer. What next? Hey, there's a report that comes to you. There you can take this code to your Power users to Microsoft Teams. Let them answer and interact with my bot, right? So I think this is really a very subjective question, but it depends what solutions are we proposing and for what business.
All right, thank you. Very interesting session, I have to say. A lot of information. I'll definitely rewatch this session again. Watch the recording.
I think we've almost set a record for the amount that we managed to get through in a session. That was absolutely awesome. That was a solid like level 300 upward session, and it was just every single minute there was just kind of pushing it forward. And I love the bit at the end whereby you surfaced it up through Teams. So you had the Power Virtual Agent sitting beside the YAML web part in a SharePoint site, served up through Teams. That was a real nice one. I really liked that. It was a real strong session.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions for Lalit?
Okay.
Oh, seems we're good. All right, we're gonna wrap up, Chris.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Adam. So a couple of key dates, as we said, we've got through. a little bit, knowing a bit about TeamsFest today, how we're getting on with that, but also as well, we've had 2 excellent sessions from Jeff and Lalit. So it's just a real privilege. Now, if you want to speak at the European Teams user group, then there is the URL, EuroTeamsUG.com/CFS. We are always looking for speakers. Now, just to set expectations, we're set up until about October, November at this point. So if you do want to apply, then it will be, I think, on the November or the December afterwards, because we're getting quite a demand to speak at these sessions. If you know, you want to speak even later than that, if you want to do early 2021, then of course we will accommodate you. We're always looking for speakers to return to get involved and get hands-on. So bearing in mind that the next session is on 24th of August, we then have TeamsFest. We will not be running a EuroTeamsUG session in September, because we don't usually the month before TeamsFest occurs. Just a reminder, we are doing 72 sessions over the course of 7 tracks. It's going to take a lot of coordination, so we don't do the user group before, so we give ourselves a little bit more time to focus on the main event. But we will then be doing a UG session later in October, and then in November, through to when we will probably end up doing TeamsFest early in 2021. So we're already thinking beyond the one we're doing next. If you want to apply to TeamsFest, sessionize.com/TeamsFest. There is 11 days still open and still to go, so it is all to play for. This is going to be the biggest TeamsFest we've ever done. We have speakers like Jeff Tieper, like Laurie Popmeyer, Anna Chu, who heads up the Microsoft tech community. We have Mark Cashman, Vesa Yavonen, we have Puna Kaufman, Mike Tolfson, and I can honestly say, from looking at, you know, having a quick browse over some of the sessions, we're going to have some really big, heavy-hitting speakers for this one. So please feel free to advertise TeamsFest on social media. We always enjoy your support. This is a 100% free, 100% community-based event. So we are taking our knowledge and giving it out to as many people as we can. This is a lot bigger version of TeamsFest, and we were looking to have lots of people involved this year. So I'd just like to thank you ever so much. Thank you to our speakers today, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
For sure.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.